and welcome to Women in Retail Talks, the podcast where C-suite executive women in the retail space share their stories of professional growth, leadership development, personal journeys, and more. I'm Marie Albajes, Senior Editor of Women in Retail, a membership-based community of executive women at leading retailers and brands. Today, I'm joined by Margot Grinberg, the president of the Movado brand and SVP of e-commerce for the Movado Group, which you might know as a collection of Swiss-made signature watches. We're talking with Margot today about her ascent from merchandise analyst to president of the brand, the challenges that she's faced in a male-dominated industry, and much more. So Margot, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So let's get into it. I'd love to hear first how you ended up in this world of retail, specifically this very niche market of luxury watches.
Absolutely. I've always had an interest in business and fashion and retail, so I always thought my career would combine some form of that. And then in terms of the specifics around watches, I actually have a family connection to Movado Group and the category. My grandfather, who was originally from Cuba, was a watch distributor there, and he moved to the United States, bringing his family in 1960 and built what is now known as Movado Group, originally starting as a watch distributor and ultimately acquiring brands, building product, and then licensing as well. So I have a deep passion for the company. I am third generation in the business, and I truly enjoy it every day.
That's incredible. So did you know kind of from an early age that this was the path that you were going to take, knowing kind of this incredible history of your grandfather?
I think it was something I had in the back of my mind, but I certainly thought about a lot of things. My grandfather actually used to tell me he thought I would be a lawyer. So I definitely had thought about that as well, but I'm very excited to be where I am now.
Yeah. So were you, when you were little, were you growing up kind of seeing everything come together, seeing how the business worked? What was your experience like?
I definitely got elements of that. And I always overheard my dad on the phone at night with my grandfather talking about things going on at the company. I got exposure getting to come to the office and see product. But it wasn't until I was really out of college that it was something I really considered for a career.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I wanted to ask you is, working with family. I don't know how much involvement you still have in working with direct family members, but if you do, how is that going? How does that work? Is it difficult to work so closely with family?
I think I'm really fortunate that it's not something that's particularly difficult for me. My family that is involved in the business, we are all really passionate and love this company, the people, the brands. And so it's, with that shared passion, it really makes it pretty easy. Obviously, we don't always agree or see eye to eye on everything, but that's not just true with family, that's true with all coworkers. And I think, people at Movado Group really, or just work together. And so the family piece is just a component of it. And we really, I enjoy it. It's maybe not for everyone, but it's been something that I've really, really enjoyed and have grown to really love.
Are you able to kind of set aside the business during family gatherings, or is it all you talk about?
It's something you were always navigating depending on the timing. But yeah, I think spending time with my family, not talking about the business, and we certainly do not all work in it. And so it makes it, a time for us to kind of put it aside and just enjoy some time together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then you started officially, I guess, at the Movado brand as a merchandise analyst, right, in 2014. So I'd love to hear kind of how you went from merchandise analyst at the start to now president of the brand just a few years later.
Yeah, I've worked in a few different areas of the company that I think have really prepared me for my role. I also spent 2 years working in investment banking prior to entering Movado Group, which gave me a really strong foundation of skills, both from a finance perspective, but also I think it just teaches you a lot about how to handle yourself in a professional environment. So I spent some time in our licensed brand, specifically working on Tommy Hilfiger as a merchandise analyst, really understanding how we create product as a company. I then, after about a year and a half doing that, got the opportunity to work as an account executive in the North America sales region, focused on Coach and Hugo Boss, two other licenses that we have. Thinking that, I really understood how distribution works and how we think about it as a company. From there, I got exposure to kind of how watch companies run by working on the acquisitions of Olivia Burton and Movement, which are two fashion watch brands that we own. And then after that, I got the exposure to digital. And that's where I spent the last 4 years of my career, getting to understand everything from how to build an e-commerce business and the digital marketing associated with that, and got exposure to everything from television advertising to how we create homepages and creative. And it really gave me a full spectrum of everything that you need to do in order to really build a brand, which is really what led me to this role. Especially over the last 4 years, I spent a lot of time building Movado.com, which I really look at as the flagship for the brand. And so by getting to work with that team over the last 4 years, I felt very prepared to take on this role.
Awesome. And so walk me through now as both president of the brand and then SVP of e-commerce for the group. What does your kind of day-to-day look like?
I think every day is really, really different, which to me keeps it really exciting. I have responsibilities for the brand marketing strategy, the product and distribution, and the P&L of the brand on one side. And then from the e-commerce side, I oversee the financial P&Ls of all of our e-commerce businesses, as well as the strategies to grow and develop those. And the reason I say Movado Group is because I not only work on Movado.com, which is, connected to the brand, but I also work on our outlet business e-commerce. I work on Olivia Burton and also our Amazon North America business. So I get exposure to a lot of different brands as well through that role. And it's really just the evolution of the role I've been doing for the last 4.5 years.
That's awesome. So the promotion to president is pretty recent, right? So I'd love for you to tell me kind of how you've spent the first 30 days. I don't even know if at this point in our recording you're at 30 days.
That's about 30 days.
Yeah. So walk me through if your team is different or how you're approaching kind of this new leadership position where, now you have more responsibility, you have a huge staff under you, I'm assuming, what do your 30 days look like?
Honestly, a lot of it is listening and learning. I have fortunately been able to work with a lot, if not everyone that I'm currently working with in some capacity over the last, 8 years at Movado Group. So the people aren't really new, but obviously some of the responsibility is. And so for me right now, it's really listening and learning, seeing where the challenges are, and so that I can start to put together my strategy and plan with the rest of the team on how we're going to continue to grow the brand and, evolve for the future. But right now, it's really just about learning and listening.
Yeah. So in working with all of the different groups and getting to know the different departments over the years, getting that kind of experience under your belt, how have you seen your leadership style kind of change to adapt to all the different challenges that I'm sure you faced, both, dealing with the pandemic and then dealing with new staff members, I'm assuming, staff turnover? We could name all sorts of challenges. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how your leadership style has changed over the years.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've learned that's most important for me as a leader is about collaboration. Movado Group is a really collaborative environment, and it's really important to me that everyone feels that their voice and their opinions are heard. Everyone on the Movado team specifically has a lot of experience, and I want to make sure that they have a voice that is listened to and heard. So for me, it's really about being someone my team can come to and that I can help work through challenges, and just making sure that everyone really feels involved in the process so that we all feel really good about the decisions we make for the brand.
Do you do anything special in terms of open office hours, or, you start off every meeting with a 2-word affirmation or anything like that?
I don't know if I do anything quite like that, but I do have weekly brand meeting where everyone comes together to talk about the challenges or things that we need to get done, whatever is kind of on the table for that week. And we always put an agenda for that in advance so we can all come really prepared. I also have one-on-one meetings with all of my direct reports to make sure that any of their issues or challenges we can talk one-on-one about, and anything else that has to be getting done short, mid, and long term as well. So for me, it's a lot about communication, and we have a lot of tools internally, whether it's, obviously email, Slack, all of those things. And we go into the office a few days a week to make sure that we really can work collaboratively and get through all the challenges and make all the plans we have to for the business.
Yeah, I feel like those one-on-ones are so important and crucial, especially hearing a leader be vulnerable and asking questions. I think that as an employee would make someone a lot more interested in sharing, what their struggles are and what their challenges are. If you've got a leader who is open and willing to have those one-on-one meetings weekly and really hear from you. So that's great.
Yeah, I always try to make sure that they know, and I think I've made it clear they can always come to me with even if it's not during that one-on-one, if something comes up, I always make myself available to make sure we can sort through problems or challenges in real time as well. I think that always helps move things along.
Yeah, that's so great. So I imagine over the years, you've had situations come up, and your situation is particularly unique because it is in the family. But navigating this male-dominated industry of watches. I mean, you can talk more than anyone about how it is male-dominated, but I'd love to hear some of the challenges that you've had when it comes to your gender, how you're perceived in the industry, whether it's been an issue. Yeah,
I think the industry is known to be very male-dominated. Movado Group is actually not. It's over 60% women. And we have a lot of women in leadership positions. So for me coming in, I had a lot of mentors and role models to look up to and really helped me develop. So I actually haven't really faced a lot of challenges. And I don't think many people do at Movado Group because we have so many women and so many women of leadership. And so it's really an amazing environment as a woman to really grow and build a career in.
That's so great that you've got so many women in leadership. And I'm wondering if there's anything unique that the group does to ensure that women are getting to those higher levels of leadership, if there's kind of internal promotions within, if there's benchmarks that you guys hit to ensure that the group is really elevating women to those leadership levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think Movado Group in general has a really great culture. And so if you look around the company, male and female, people have built long careers there. Many people have been at the company 10, 15, 20 years, both in leadership and throughout the entire company, which makes it, I think, a very unique environment with extremely low turnover. I think as a company, we are always looking to ensure that we have a diverse workplace, and we have a lot of values that are really important to us. And we actually are recently published on our corporate website about a lot of those initiatives. So we're very transparent in what our goals are as a company. And we really try to strive to continue to grow and be better.
Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of growing and doing better, I know that, it's not only a male dominated industry, but it's a kind of old school dominated industry, right? I mean, something like the wine industry comes to mind. And I think the watch industry might be in the same mold. Watchmakers have been around for centuries. So have you had any challenges when it comes to innovating and bringing fresh ideas to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, Movado Group at our core, and the Movado brand in particular, innovation is everything that we do. It is what's most important to us. Movado, which is famous for the museum dial, which has a dot at the top and two hands at its most basic, was one of the most innovative and still considered one of the most innovative watch designs ever. It was actually the first watch ever to be put into the permanent collection at the MoMA. And innovators from everyone like Albert Einstein would comment on kind of really what it is. And so for us, that's been at our core. Design innovation is what we put at the forefront. It is one of our core values, and we are constantly being inspired by everything from art to architecture to hotel design and travel to make sure that we are thinking about our product in a new, fresh way. And so that is, to me, something that we're actually really, really good at. And one of the things that I love about working at Movado Group.
Yeah, that's really great. So speaking of kind of fresh and new ideas, what kind of trends are you kind of keeping an eye on when it comes to e-commerce and marketing, especially as it applies to kind of the watch industry?
Yeah, I think in general, the thing that I'm most focused on right now is how the e-commerce and that really, bottom of the funnel digital marketing ladders up to brand building. I think one of the things that brands have been most challenged about is how do you build long-term brand desirability, not just short-term sales. And especially in this new age of digital marketing and being inundated with ads on our phones constantly. To me, that is probably one of the biggest things that brands have to focus on. And that as a leader of a brand, I want to focus on in the coming years is how do we continue to be relevant and desirable to our consumers and to future consumers. So to me, that's the biggest challenge and what gets me really excited every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so Margot, the last question I want to ask you is around kind of any leadership advice you have for women in retail. Obviously, there's a lot of women in retail listening, and they're looking at you and seeing, your rise to president of a brand, which is amazing. So, any advice for women who might want to kind of progress into a leadership role like yours?
Yeah, for me, it's just really always about listening and asking a lot of questions and kind of exploring your organization and trying to understand how the whole business works. One of the things that I think has helped me and has been really important to me is even when I'm in a specific role, I'm always taking time to talk to other people throughout the organization to hear about what they do and understand how that fits in the holistic vision of the company. I think to rise to a more senior role, you have to understand how all the parts of a company kind of fit together. I think a lot of companies are kind of like puzzles, and you need to understand how the puzzle part that you're part of fits in with the whole kind of plan. And so for me, I've built a lot of really great relationships within Movado Group and have a lot of mentors, people I have worked with, people I have not, just so that I can really kind of learn from a lot of different people, develop my own leadership style, and also really understand how the company works. So when I am in that leadership role, I can do it as effectively as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing get to know all the different parts of the company and build those relationships with people who you might not have the same skills or the same workflow in common with. You mentioned mentors. How did you get your mentors, and what does that mentor relationship look like today?
Yeah, I think a lot of them formed organically with areas of interest that I had in the company. Some were, people I worked for directly, and some were other people throughout the company. And they really are people I still go to today when I'm not sure how to handle a challenging situation with, whether it's someone on my team or a situation with the company. And they're really still the people that I go to for advice professionally. And I'm so grateful to have those relationships internally.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Margot, I want to thank you so much for joining today. And it's been great to hear kind of your background and your leadership journey. So I can't wait to see what happens next for you and the Movado Group.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.